All right. Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachakudash. Welcome. All right. To another live lesson. The name of this one is You Still Can't See the Signs. Was the bag that good? And pretty much, this is based off of some thoughts that were going through my mind. As I was going for my walk earlier, I was listening to a video, but then the thought came to mind that, which I did a lesson on this. Can't remember exactly when. It was probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. And pretty much it's going on into all of these different countries that are, going or introducing digital IDs to their system or to their countries. And there was something a brother had sent me. I believe it was the brother Cornerworth from the New York camp. Just bear with me 1 second. He sent me a couple of things. Yes, it was him. One thing he sent me was 4,700 enrolled for Guyana digital ID ahead of full rollout. Okay, biometric update. And that's pretty much if you type in that biometricupdate.com, it says if you type in 4,700 enrolled for Guyana digital ID ahead of full rollout, you'll get the article, and it's telling you, that almost 5,000 people have registered for this electronic identification, system in 2025. So here it is. We're in 2026, and all nations around the globe, are flirting with some type of digital ID. Do you think this is a coincidence? Do you think that all these nations that can't stand America are doing the same thing that America is doing, including Iran? I hate to disappoint the gods, bro. Chief Ephraim, yes, Iran is definitely doing what America's doing, my brother. But at the end, it shall speak and not lie. This is a thought that came to mind here from this scripture in Habakkuk 2 and 3. That just that one part at the end, it shall speak and not lie. This is what we're witnessing. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. We're actually witnessing the visions that were seen by the prophets in the case of the biometric system, the beast system, the MOTB, the micro CHIP, the Neuralink, the implantation in the brain, the metapon, which is the forehead. This is what the Apostle John saw, but nevertheless, all of the prophets saw visions of the end. He just happened to see one of the major, events that would take place in the earth today to usher in the end and to usher in this destruction, because once this system is fully implemented, that's when the end will come. And not before that. You'll see all these different, nations getting ready to prepare for World War III. And even if, let's say, a nation drops a nuclear bomb on another nation, that's not going to bring in full World War III because, the chip, the micro CHIP, the MOTB has to fully be rolled out before that can actually happen. Now, can that happen? Can, one country use a nuclear missile, something in case a small one just to make a point, yeah, but that's not going to bring the end of the world just yet because, the MOTB still hasn't been fully rolled out. It's in the process, like Elder Pastor has been speaking about this scripture a lot in Revelation chapter 11, where it says the 10th part of the city fell. And we used to break it down as saying that was talking about America being totally destroyed because it's broken up into 10 FEMA regions. But it said the 10th part, which is a 10th, not the whole thing. So it's possible that something could happen where they could drop something in a major city in America and destroy a part of it, a portion of it, to bring this thing to the next level. But nevertheless, the end is not going to come until the MOTB is fully implemented. Or it could be, after the MOTB is implemented, maybe a portion of America may be destroyed by a nuclear missile, and then eventually all of it, because the ultimate destruction of America is thermonuclear destruction and the lasers from the chariots of Yahushua and the angels. All right, that is the final judgment of Babylon the whore, which is going to be beautiful because it's going to be Yahushua the stone. He's going to be pelting stones upon it, which are the missiles and the lasers from the chariots, and it's going to go out by fire, and that's how destroy, or slay a harlot. All right, by fire. So, what I did was on my walk. Was it on my walk? No, I believe when I got back, it might have been on the walk. I typed in. Well, I'm going to go here first to show you how many countries, are rolling out digital IDs. But the other question was, we'll get to it, Salakia. So it says, how many countries are rolling out digital IDs? Over 80 nations currently operate government-recognized digital ID systems. Why? Because it's going to be a global thing, Salakia. Just so for those of you that don't know, Revelation 3 and 10, it says here, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, which is what? We suffer for this truth. And I was watching the video that the up-and-coming elder, Micah Allah from the, Chicago, not Chicago, the LA camp did today based off of a video that the elder Mawatazak sent them. And that video, which I couldn't watch because it was on TikTok, the elder Karatazar from the Vegas camp sent it to me, and I wasn't able to watch it. And he said he was going to try to record it, but we were so busy that he may not have got a chance to. But I ended up seeing it on Priest Micah Allah's page and from LA, because he did a lesson based off of it, and it was beautiful, and this is part of that patience. Patience means suffer. Part of the patience and the suffering is, dealing with being bad mouthed, slandered, false witness being borne upon you for teaching this word. Remember, the Apostle John, he was on the island of Patmos. For what reason? Was he on the island of Patmos because he tried to take down Rome? He led an armed assault against the Roman Empire. No, he was on the island of Patmos, because of the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Revelation 1 and 9 says, I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation. That's that suffering. And in the kingdom and patience of Yahushai was in the isle that is called Patmos for the word of the Most High and for the testimony of Yahushai HaMashiach. So he suffered. He was suffering for this word. So because I was kept the word of my patience, because we kept the word of Yahushai's patience, right? And we're suffering, and you can see that's in red. Yahushai saying, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, because there's going to come a great time of testing, on the planet. And when you look this up in the NLT, which Elder Pastor brought this out, remember the first time I heard it, NLT, because you have obeyed my command to persevere, I will protect you from the great time of testing that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world. And when you go into these different Greek words here for the word world, and this is why you have to go to your words. Why? Because when you look at the word world, most people think it's just talking about the entire planet Earth. But no, in English, you have the word world that means many different things. You have many different types of world. But when you go into the original languages of the Greek or the Hebrew, you'll find out that the word world has different meanings depending on the context of the scripture. Now, in this case, the word world here in Revelation 3:10 is oikomene, which means a whole entire planet. All right? Because you have the word oikos, which means house. Oikos is house, and then the mene part goes into the root word ge or gi or geo, which is earth. So the entire planet or the house of the planet. All right? So it says here, the inhabited earth. That's exactly what it means. It doesn't mean an inhabited part or the Roman. No, it doesn't mean that. You know, you could somewhat use it as the known world, because at one time this part of the world wasn't really known to everybody, to the masses. You know, you could use like that. You know, they govern over the known world. You know, but it really is a representation of the whole entire planet Earth. Okay, it says the whole inhabited earth, the world. That's it. The inhabitants of the earth, men. So the whole entire planet Earth. So because you kept the word of my patience, you suffered for this truth. You know, I'm going to keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. And what is that hour of temptation? Ultimately, is the microcohip and everything that's going to lead up to that. And we're in the midst of Jacob's trouble, you know, but it's just going to intensify and get worse, right? So the word earth here is gay or gi, where you get the word geo, okay? Arable land, the ground, the earth as a standing place. The earth is talking about the whole entire earth, the earth as a whole, you know. So in Revelation 3:10, it gives you a global idea of this temptation or tribulation coming, and it gives you that sentiment 2 times. Oikumene, which is the whole inhabited earth, and gay, which goes back to the word geo, which is the whole earth. So there's going to be a great time of testing where the whole world is going to be tempted. And this is why you have all of these different countries around the world flirting or have some form of digital ID, whether it's already rolled out, rolling out in talks, or whatever the case may be. And I just read to you from biometric.com update, right? This biometricupdate.com, 4,700 enrolled for Guyana digital ID ahead of full rollout. Okay, I'm not sure if I sent that out to a few brothers, but it was sent to me. But here I asked how many countries are rolling out digital IDs. Over 80 nations currently operate government-recognized digital ID systems, with more than 100 countries actively developing or piloting them to facilitate online services. So is this a coincidence that all these different nations are rolling out digital IDs? No. Why is that? Because the whole world is being conditioned and cornered and pushed into being able to operate digitally on this infrastructure that is rolled out already and is being rolled out as we speak. That says the EU is mandating. When you mandate something, say, look, this is it. Boom. This is what we're going to do. Digital wallets across its 27 member states. Is this a coincidence? No, because they are a part of that beast system. And in America and the NATO EU, they're conditioning the world to go in the same direction, because this is prophecy. It says, plus Norway, Iceland, and Ukraine, while others like India, Aadhaar, Singapore, and Canada have advanced established systems. All right, so I can read some of this, but what I want to do is I want to go back to my original question, which is what countries are rolling out digital IDs? Many countries are implementing digital IDs, with leaders like India, Aadhaar, Singapore, SingPass, Estonia, China, South Korea, and the UAE Pass. So these are all different countries and different locations of the world, you know, ushering in what? Digital ID systems. Why? Because that is the wave of the future. That is the new world order, to establish this digital system or this beast system to be able to, you know, implant everybody with this device known as the microcohip. Because when they did it to pets, they didn't give a damn about the pets. There was somebody that was speaking on that. I forget who it was. You know, they didn't give a damn about the pets. They really were doing that as a testing ground for what they really wanted to do, is to implant this in humans. Okay? Having advanced systems, while the EU, USA, UK, and others are rolling out digital wallets or mobile licenses, often leveraging blockchain and biometrics for secure, convenient online and borderless identity verification, though implementation varies from mandatory centralized systems to voluntary mobile apps. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how they get the system, and it doesn't matter how many different ID systems there are around the world and how different they are and vary from each other and have different regulations and stipulations from each other. It doesn't matter, because eventually it's all going to be centered into one. This is why they want to get it online, centralized online, so they can control it online. Now you got to do what we tell you, or you can't function in the system. Somewhat like, just to give you like a broad, not a broad, like a vague idea of it, is like Trump throwing tariffs on everybody. You don't comply, we're going to put tariffs on you. You're going to have to pay more money, even though the final tax is imposed on the consumer. Nevertheless, I'm just giving you like something so that you could understand. So once the system is in place, all of these different varieties of IDs, digital IDs, are all going to be rolled into one, which is the MOTB, which is the micro chip. This is what the Apostle John saw on the island of Patmos. People operating in this future system, right? It says, having advanced systems, while the EU, USA, UK, and others are rolling out digital wallets or mobile licenses, often leveraging blockchain and biometrics for secure, convenient online and borderless identity verification, though implementation varies from mandatory centralized systems to voluntary mobile apps. Countries with established or advanced digital ID systems, India, Aadhaar, a biometric-based digital ID, is widely used for accessing services. Singapore, SingPass, offers a single government-managed digital identity. Estonia, which some people said that Estonia was like a proving ground, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like an example for the future, like China, for instance. They call it Estonia. Get it? Electronic Estonia, right? A leader in digital governance. See, using digital IDs for various services. China, piloting advanced digital passports and identity systems. South Korea offers a mobile identification app for digital identity. UAE, United Arab Emirates, UAE Pass serves as a backbone for smart government services, with other Gulf states developing similar systems. Now you notice everything that they talk about as far as digital is concerned is all tied back to what? To the government. Finland uses bank-issued digital IDs, Bank ID, for government identification. Countries implementing or piloting digital IDs, IED, or is that ELD? No, EID. European Union mandating, let's go here. An official order or commission to do something. A commission by which a party is entrusted to perform a service, especially without payment and with indemnity against loss by that party. The authority to carry out a policy or course of action regarded as given by the electorate by a candidate or party that is victorious in an election. So pretty much it's an official order. So these are the laws, the grievous laws that are being prescribed, and who's the main push for that? America. So let's get rid of this, go back. European Union mandating a digital identity wallets for all member states by 2026. Remember, the elder pastor said that 2026 is going to be a heavy year, for the MOTB. I wouldn't be surprised, and I believe he mentioned it too, that if they rolled the MOTB out this year, or by the end of the year, it'd be either in place or just about. I mean, we pray the sooner the better, But nevertheless, we are seeing and witnessing this system and the prophecy of the MOTB playing out right before our eyes in our lifetime, which is something that the Apostle John didn't understand 2,000 years ago. With pilot projects in many countries, United Kingdom planning a mandatory national digital ID system by 2029. And we pray it be a lot sooner than that, and we believe it'll be sooner than that. But we'll see. Keir Starmer said, you will have to have a digital ID. You won't be able to work unless you have that digital ID. They said he backtracked it and whatever the case may be, but nevertheless, those are the plans. You could try to backtrack it all you want or whatever the case is, back it up and all that, whatever. It's still going to happen. They're pushing, those talking points. Why? Because we're in that time where this prophecy is speaking. At the end, they shall speak and not lie. United States digital driver's license, MDL, are being piloted in several states. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, using digital IDs like MitID and Denmark for government and banking. Notice everything is tied to what? To the government, to banking. What does that lead to? Buying or selling. Whether you're paying bills or whether you're purchasing something online or whether you're receiving a payment from somebody for your services or for rent or for whatever the case may be. Why? Because that is the wave of the future. That is the MOTB. United States digital driver's license, MDL, are being piloted in several states. Denmark, Sweden, I believe I read that already. Yep. Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, Portugal, Israel are part of the Digital Nations Initiative for digital identity. Why? And why is it then when you look at all these, older movies, going back to the 70s, 80s, especially like in the 80s and the 90s, you had the future was like a strange future. It was all digitized, driverless cars and, everything, being operated under biometrics. And people thought that it was crazy. People being implanted with certain devices and being able to do certain things, They thought it was crazy, but we're in that time right now because this was the plans the whole time because of prophecy, right? Key trends: centralized versus federated. Some countries, India, Singapore, use centralized systems while the EU favors federated models for interoperability. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be centralized into one. Mobile and biometric use of smartphones, biometric fingerprints, facial recognition, and blockchain for enhanced security and convenience. That's why in your phones, at one time you just typed in your password. Now they got to send you a code, to your email. Now, and then you also have the option for fingerprint or for eye scan or whatever, or some type of biometric, connection to get into your phone or into your account. And now when you have these different apps, for your bank or whatever the case may be, if you start buying stuff that you don't normally buy, they put a squash on your shit because this is them showing you that eventually they're going to block you from buying whatever you want because it's going to be a restriction on everything. You see? That people think that these are conspiracy theories. No, these are conspiracy facts that are actually happening as we speak today. Why? Because it goes back to the prophecy of the MOTB in Revelation 13. Focus on convenience. Digital IDs streamline access for government services, banking, and even border crosses. And yes, they do make things more convenient. That's why now most self-checkouts, you can't, use the self-checkout unless you're paying, with your phone or your credit card or debit card or whatever the case may be. They make you stand in a longer line to pay cash, with the actual person at the register. So people rather go for the convenience. So eventually they're going to keep cutting the rope off and cutting the rope off and cutting the rope off and cutting the rope off until you have no other wiggle room. Shout out to the elder Yashawamba. But to what? Comply to the mandates of that system, which is the micro C hip. All right. So Um, let's go from there. Let's go back to Habakkuk, and we'll take it from there. Habakkuk chapter 2 and 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And this is the job of the prophets. Bear with me 1 second. That's the job of the prophets, to watch, and then whatever they see as far as what's happening in the world, playing out into prophecy, go and warn the rest of the city, so to speak. Be right back. Okay, so lucky for that. Yeah, today's my juicing day, so between the protocols and the juicing, damn, this shit takes a lot of time. Juicing sometimes takes me like 2 hours sometimes to get all these juices done. But at the end of the day, it's all good because it gives me at least 5, 6 days of juicing, leave 3 days in the fridge and put the rest in the freezer. And then, as you drink one each day, you pull one out of the freezer so it could thaw out. So I didn't even get to the rest of my protocols yet. Nevertheless, this is what the prophet's supposed to do: watch and then report. Watch and report. Watch and report. Watch and report. Why? Because this is the commandment that was given to us by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to warn the people. Now I was watching the Elder Yashawamba's, video. He was speaking about, how these cats at the IOSC, Captain Desire, they're not too bright, because pretty much they set themselves up to be in a trap by this guy Queensflip. And you have to understand that those podcasters, those content creators, and all that, a lot of them, or especially the ones that are really famous, they're compromised. You have different, levels to insiders. You have your entertainers, basketball players, sports entertainers. You have music entertainers, movie, celebrities, and all that. Then you have those that are content creators, podcasters, so on and so forth. Producers. There's all different types of levels and groups. That of them that get infiltrated. And their job is to, they work for the higher ups, and their job is to, whatever they want them to do, go out there and infiltrate these groups, or make them say something to condemn themselves, or to incriminate themselves. These guys are not too bright. And at the same time, he called Captain Desire out. He said, "Man, you used to be out in the streets." Captain Desire started laughing. "I'm still out in the streets. I went out there 3 weeks ago," which shows you he's not out there. So he's not setting up the hedge anymore. He's just, what's the word I'm looking for? Enjoying the fruits of this celebrity dome. So Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 17 said, "A man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word in my mouth and give them warning from me." So the job of the prophet is to see what's going on, observe, and watch for the prophecies. Once the prophecies come out, then they'll go out and warn, Jake out there, this is what's coming. Don't take it. Don't do this. Don't do that. Because if you do, the Lord's going to destroy you. And these guys are not doing that. They're just too concerned with that celebrity dome bullshit, So when we go to the word warning, the word there is zahar, to admonish, warn, teach, shine, send out light, be shining. Did not Yahushua said, to the disciples before they became apostles, you are the light of the world, because Yahushua is the light. But Yahushua passed that light to the disciples. Let me see something. Just bear with me. It was going to be kind of okay. Let me go back. I believe it's in Matthew 5. Yep, Matthew 5 and 14. This is what Yahushua told the disciples, because Yahushua is the light, and he was about to go back to the Father eventually. So he was passing that light on to the disciples so that they could shine that light. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Let's open that up. It says, neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Right. And whether they pay attention, give heed to that light or not, that's on them. Our job is to tell them. Our job is not to make them see it. Our job is to tell them. And if the Spirit is working with them, they're part of the elect, they're going to get it. They're going to get themselves together. They're going to take heed, and they'll be protected. But if not, they're going to go on and be destroyed. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Yeah, because although they're talking shit, eventually they're going to be forced to admit that a prophet has been among them. So going back to, that's the word zahar, right? Which means to warn, admonish, to be that light. All right. So that's our job. So Captain Desire, General Yohana, Bishop Nathaniel, or should I say Commandant General Yohana, Bishop King Nathaniel, he loves them titles. Oh my God. They don't go out on the streets anymore unless it's some special event. Then they'll show their face because, it's going to bring more fame to them. No? Y'all going to find out. Ezekiel 13:3, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, woe unto the foolish prophets that follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. Yeah, you ain't seen nothing. And you ain't warning the people of what's coming. Captain Katazar said one time that Jacob's trouble is gay. And Bishop Nathaniel one time said that Jacob's trouble ain't coming. Ain't going to be no Jacob's trouble. Then he lied about it because he has no character. If we would have respected him if he would have said, you know what, I was wrong. I said there was going to be no Jacob's trouble. I was wrong about that. Whether he misspoke, or whether he was intentionally lying. Could have had more respect for him if he would have just came straight out and said that he was wrong. It takes a lot of character to admit your faults. It says, O Israel, thy prophets are like the foxes in the desert. That's exactly what you guys are like. You're like foxes in the desert. You're sneaky, conniving, sly, slick, oil can Harry-ish, shower aisle, fox, a burrower, fox, perhaps also jackal, right? A burrow, one that burrows into the ground. Pretty much you're sneaky, sly. The word goes back to the word sha'il, hollow, hand. Hollow hand, hollow of hand, handful, hollow. You guys are hollow, man. All right. So pretty much you're like the foxes in the desert. You don't warn the people. It says you have not gone up into the gaps. That's you. Commandant General Yohana, Bishop Nathaniel, Captain Desire, all you guys that's done your little 15, 20 years, 25, 30 years, or however long, you don't go out in the streets anymore. You don't teach the people in the streets anymore. You know, you're too busy living off of that celebrity status. You think that now that you know, put so many years, you know, out there on the field, that you don't have to go back out on the field anymore. It don't work like that. What did Yahweh said? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, so find so doing. Doing what? Doing the work out there on the streets. You know, you as faithful men waiting for their master when he comes back. I'm just merely paraphrasing one of my favorite scriptures, so that when the Yahweh comes back, he could say, "Well done, my good servant. You know, here's your reward. Here's your crown. You guys want your crown now." And our King Yahweh hasn't got his crown yet on the earth. He hasn't been magnified yet. He hasn't been glorified yet. But you want to be glorified now. The scriptures say he made himself of no reputation. He said, learn of me. You guys ain't learning of Yahweh. It says you have not gone up into the gaps. Let's look up the word gaps. Paratazah, breach, gap, bursting forth, outburst. Yeah. So out there in the streets, because the house of David is being built, but it's not fully built yet. Just like when Jake was building the back Jerusalem back, the temple and all that, there were breaches in the wall. There were gates that were broken. You know, there were a lot of, you know, stuff that was all in disarray, out of order. So they had to build it back up. You guys ain't out there building it. You guys are too busy with that celebrity dome. When you're supposed to be out in them streets, 10 toes down, preaching this word till this bitch collapses. So it says, you have not gone up into the gaps, neither made up the hedge for the house of Israel to stand in the battle in the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because Jacob's trouble is coming. The MOTB is here and is being implemented and pretty much, you know, speaking loud and clear, and you're not wanting the people not to take it. You're not making that hedge. The word for hedge is gadar, which means fence, wall. You're not making that fence or that wall that hedge that's gonna protect them from this new system that's coming. Here comes the fox. Here comes the wolves. You know, they're fast approaching, and you're leaving the sheep out there, uncertain, or take the jab. You know, oh no, the micro C here, that's not the MOTB. And from a testimony that was given years ago by Yatab, that used to be in Great Millstone and left to go to Sakari, you know, he said that he had called General Yohana's show, and that he and that he asked him about the MOTB, the micro C, and he said, look, you're gonna take it and I'm gonna take it because you want to eat and I want to eat, something along those lines. You know? So you're not warning the people. You're telling them to take jabs. You're telling them to take poison. You're not telling them that the MOTB is a micro C, not to take it. Some of you now are flirting with it, you know, playing around with it, saying don't take it, you know, saying, you know, they might throw a micro C hip in there. The digital system, talking about the digital system and everything that's going on in place, and the digital IDs and all this stuff that we've been talking about for years. Now all of a sudden you're experts at it, talking about it. Why? Because you're trying to cover your ass. Cover your own ass. CYOA. Cover your own ass. That's what you're trying to do. So you ain't building that wall of protection for Jake. That's why Yahweh said, because you have kept the word of my patience, you suffer for this. I'm going to also keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the face of the earth. So it says, you have not gone up into the gaps, neither made up the hedge for the house of Israel to stand in the battle in the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They have seen vanity and lying divinations, saying, the Lord saith, and the Lord have not sent them. And some of you guys, the Lord ain't sent you. You're nothing more than men crept in unawares. And they have made others to hope that they would confirm the word, right? Because the people that's listening to you, instead of doing their own research, instead of being convinced in their own mind, they're hanging on your every word, hoping that you confirm the things that you say. And if you tell them that the MOTB is not the microCIP, it's not going to be confirmed. It's going to be confirmed that the microCIP is the MOTB. And if you leave them like that, if you leave them, in a confused state, then they're going to end up taking it because they got to eat, not knowing that that's the very thing that's going to destroy them. Giving them vague, giving them a vague, not giving them sure words of prophecy. Let's go to this word confirm. The word there is quawam, which goes back to the word arise or rise. Become powerful. To establish, see, confirm, ratify. They're looking to you, hanging on your every word. That's why it says, cursed be the man that trusteth the man and maketh arm his flesh. Instead of making Yahweh Bashem Yahushai your arm, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai your hedge. You're looking and hanging on every word that a man says, for your salvation, which shows you that you're not looking for your salvation from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You're looking for your salvation from man. When the Apostle Paul said it best, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Another man is not going to be able to hold your hand to bring you into the kingdom. Each man is striving and fighting to make it to the kingdom themselves. One at a time. And if that man makes it and the Lord deems that his family can be saved, then guess what? Him and his family will be saved. But if it's just meant for him to be saved, then he's just going to be the only one to be saved. And you guys over the years, you love that. You love, having that control over the people. Especially megalomaniacs like Oil Can Harry. Loves having that power over the people. That they hang on your every word. You're no different than Esau. You're no different than that orange maniac in the White House. Have you not seen a vain vision and has not spoken and have you not spoken a lying divination? Whereas you say the Lord saith, albeit I have not spoken. And guess what? You're going to be made to eat your words. All these years you've been slandering Great Millstone, beginning with Elder Pastor on down. You're going to be made to eat all those words. That's why some of you guys now are scrambling, trying to patch up that botched work that you've done. That bullshit work that you've done. On the MOTB over the years, all them crazy doctrines that you taught, all them different, breakdowns that you taught on the MOTB. Now you're trying to scramble to clean it up. We've always talked about it being a digital system. We've always talked about digital IDs. You've no character having low life individuals out there. Anyways, let's go back to Ezekiel 3:17. Read this one more time and then we'll go back. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word of my mouth and give them warning from me. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's the job of the prophet. That's why in Habakkuk 2:1, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord Yahweh Bashem shall answer me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Right. So the prophets or the heralds can take the message and run with it and show the people what's coming. And if they get together, beautiful. If they don't, tough. Ezekiel 2, Ezekiel 3. Whether they will hear, whether they will forbear, yet will they know that a prophet has been among them. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, and that's the point. When that time comes, guess what? The prophecy will start speaking. But at the end, it shall speak and not lie. And this is where we're at. We're at the end, and it's speaking and not lying. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So it seemed like though it seemed like it was taking a long time, wait for it, because our time and the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai's time are different. One day with the Lord is 1,000 years to us. You know? Let's look at this word end, but at the end. Let's see if it's just one word, or is it a combination of words? At the end, Quatazaya, end at the end of time, and that's what it's talking about. At the end of time, it shall speak. Matter of fact, let me see what it says in the NLT. The vision is for future time. See, it describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. And we're seeing it right now, not being delayed. Why? Because it's the time of prophecy, or it's the time of that particular prophecy to speak. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. That's Esau, but the just shall live by his faith. Right? And we have to warn the people, because if we don't warn the people, guess what? Their blood is going to be on our hands. So yes, all these different nations they're rolling out digital IDs. You see that here: European Union, United Kingdom, United States, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, Portugal, Israel. You have India, Singapore, Estonia, China, South Korea, UAE, and many others. Right now, as we speak, 4,700 people as of 2025 in Guyana have enrolled, for the digital ID. And then it says how many countries are rolling out digital IDs? Over 80 nations currently operate government-recognized digital ID system, with more than 100 countries actively developing or piloting them to facilitate online services. And why is this? Because the prophecy of the MOTB is speaking loud and clear, as the Lord told, the prophet Habakkuk it would, and not lie. It says the EU is mandating digital wallets across its 27 member states, plus Norway, Iceland, and Ukraine, while others like India, Aadhaar, Singapore, and Canada have advanced established systems. Key developments in digital ID rollout. EU digital identity wallets. 26 EU member states, along with Norway, Iceland, and Ukraine, are participating in pilots for a unified one world government digital ID wallet, expected to be in place by 2026. Come on, man. Active, and once they get the system in place, then they can change the provisions. They're not concerned with trying to get people to take the MOT, the micro chip right away. They want to get the system in place, just like they wanted to get the Federal Reserve system in place. Once it was in place, then they were able to do what they had to do. And from 1913 until this present, you see how they got the world in such a debt, such a quagmire, thick clay. It says active implementation. More than 80 nations use digital IDs for remote authentication, with notable well-developed systems in Estonia, Denmark, Singapore, and South Korea. Global adoption. The hour temptation which shall come upon all the world. Over 100 countries are developing or testing self-sovereign identity projects, national programs. India, the Aadhaar system is widely used as of October 2025, new biometric authentication for payments. See, everything leading back to payments and compliance with the government. China, a new national internet ID is being introduced to verify user identity. Like, sometimes you go on your account, they won't let you get into the account. They got to send you, a text or whatever the case may be to your email or to your phone. In some places it's optional, but eventually it's going to be made mandatory. It says UK, a new free digital ID scheme is being rolled out. New free digital ID scheme. What is a scheme? It's a machination scheme. a large-scale systematic plan or arrangement for attaining a particular object or putting a particular idea into effect. See why? Because they have this, they have this plan for the microchip to be implemented into everyone, and that's why here in the book of Job 5:12, it says, "He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise." And I believe the word for devices, let me see, Machashaba is thought, device, plan, purpose, invention. And there's another one where it uses the word scheme. Chashab. It could be this one. It could be a different version of the scripture. Let me see the NLT. He frustrated the plans of schemers. See, NLT. So the work of their hands will not succeed, and that's what it is here. In the UK, a new free digital ID scheme is being rolled out. Canada, the Digital ID and Authentication Council of Canada is actively building a framework. Mobile driver's licenses, MDLs, in the US, several states, including California, New York, and Arizona, have implemented or are piloting mobile driver's licenses. The trend is shifting from simple paper-based identification towards secure digital formats, which over 90% of countries now use for some form of foundational digital or, in some cases, biometric identification. 90% of countries. Do you think this is by coincidence? No. This is prophecy being rolled out right in front of our faces. And it's the job of the prophet to go out there and tell the people, tell Israel what's going down, and to avoid this microchip, because that's going to be their destruction. To let them know that everything is being moved in that direction, to put everything online, to corner people into accepting the device that they plan on putting into people in order to operate in this system. Just like if you don't have your password, you can't get on your Netflix or your YouTube account or whatever the case is. They're going to have it. If you don't have that device, you're not going to be able to access any of your stuff online, your banking, anything. It's the master plan of the illuminated ones, the international banking families. But that's going to be their own destruction too, because when they're about to fill their belly, the Lord shall cast the fury of his wrath upon them. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.